Moose and Maggie with you on this Monday midday. Bad news about Jacob DeGrom and also, well, tough news, being placed on the 10-day IL. Also, when you look at Francisco Lindor, let's welcome aboard Dr. Cherian joins us now. Rothman Orthopaedics. To learn more about their New Jersey locations, check out RothmanNJ.com. Hey, Doc, Mark Malusis and Maggie Gray with you. Thanks for a couple minutes here this morning.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Maggie. Thanks for the opportunity.
You got it, Doc. Let's start with DeGrom. MRI clean on the forearm. He's going through tightness. From your expertise, Doc, what do you make of this? Met fans on the ledge here, thinking that something significant's coming their way. Could that be happening here with Jake? We know he's the best pitcher in baseball. What do you make of this consistent forearm tightness that he's going through?
It is concerning because if you say forearm tightness, it's a vague symptom, right? Now, do pitchers experience this during the season? Yes, by all means. And having a normal MRI that doesn't show any structural damage is reassuring. But DeGroms are a major player here, and, he has had multiple soft tissue injuries during the season. So, placing him on 10-day IL out of caution is definitely needed just to make sure we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, Dr. Cherian, a lot of people see forearm tightness, and that can usually be a precursor to the worst-case scenario being Tommy John. Just shutting down DeGrom for, you tell me, how long before you feel like you could be maybe out of the woods there?
Well, here's the thing. We have to kind of take a look at his biomechanics, right? Because there's something going on that's kind of causing this forearm tightness to flare up. As a sports medicine specialist, our ears perk up a little bit when we have a pitcher coming in with forearm or elbow involvement. The forearm muscles, particularly the flexors, are an important dynamic stabilizer of that medial elbow joint, and they actually originate from a location that's just adjacent to that UCL. It's still a little bit too early. I think it is a day-by-day approach to kind of see how he is doing and how he's clinically feeling in the setting of a normal MRI.
Doc, what could it lead to for those that want to look at and say, okay, what could this be the sign of? Is there anything that, when you look at forearm tightness and you look at his delivery, throws with great velocity, more, throwing, over 99 plus more than any other pitcher in all of Major League Baseball, what could this maybe be the early signs of? Is there anything significant or not really?
Yeah, I wouldn't really pay attention too much to see if there's an underlying significant injury that potentially may be at risk. The Mets training staff is great, and I'm sure that he's in great hands. And they're usually going through a differential diagnosis to make sure that there's nothing structural, there's nothing nerve-related, and obviously ligamentous in nature. And so if all that checks out, listen, pitchers sometimes have tightness, right? It's part of the game, and but you just want to make sure biomechanically you're looking at the shoulder, you're looking at the thoracic spine, lumbosacral spine, making sure that everything is working the way it is so that when he does get back to pitching, he can, kind of continue to progress without this becoming chronic.
Would one of the benchmarks that DeGrom have to hit, would one of them be 100% pain-free, or do you think that a doctor would clear him even if he is still experiencing some tightness, but MRIs say no structure, and as you say, pitchers, deal with tightness all season long?
Yeah, the goal would be to get to that pain-free. And listen, he had that side session initially when he was at home during the break, and then he had the recurrence of that tightness. So at this point, it really is proceed with caution. Listen, we're at the midway point of the season. We still have a bulk of the season remaining. You want to make sure you address it correctly now. And if that's the case, then, progressing to as much pain-free range of motion and throwing that's possible is usually the way we try to lean towards.
Dr. Chris Cherian joining us from Rothman Orthopaedics. Doc, DeGrom, as you're a big sports fan. There's been multiple issues here, right? He's dealt with the elbow, the shoulder, the lat. The lat was on a swing. Now you're dealing with the tightness in his forearm. There was, the Mets believe there was no connectivity amongst the three in the first half. Is there any connection here at all with the wear and tear, the way he throws, the delivery? Is there any connection with the fact that there's always something bothering here, Jacob DeGrom?
Well, I would take a step back and look I guess more so the big picture, anatomically, these are distinct areas. But for a pitcher and for a throwing athlete, biomechanically, they all play a role. Now, could there be a degree of compensation that's going on here? And that could be a possibility. But that's why we shut these players down, at least for putting DeGrom on this 10-day IL, is to make sure that we address all the other biomechanical areas that are part of his delivery and part of his throwing pattern, just to make sure we're not missing something subtle in the setting of a normal MRI per reports.
Is 10 days going to do anything?
10 days will give us an idea of which way he's headed, right? So if you're taking him away from all throwing-related activities and then starting a rehab and return to pitching program, I think you'll get a better idea as the week progresses how he's doing.
Last one for me, Doc, is this. You mentioned that, all pitchers are dealing with, a little bit of, soreness or tightness, whatever it might be. When does it, because Jake seems to be more concerned about this than he was the previous three in the first half of the regular season. When does it become something that's kind of, for a pitcher that knows his body, where it's out of the ordinary?
I think you have to follow his clinical symptoms, right? If he's noticing that his pain is changing its pattern, if he's feeling these symptoms both at rest and with activity, if they trial a return to pitch program and even at a distance of 40 feet he's feeling these symptoms, that's when you start trying to look in a little bit further to see what else is going on.
Do you think in 10 days he'll be back with his team pitching?
I think over the next
10 days he'll be back with his team pitching?
I think over the next 10 days he may miss his next upcoming start. My hope is, that he comes back. But I think with him, it's really a day-by-day approach. And especially given his season thus far, we really want to make sure we're okay with his tightness, per se, before getting him back on the mound.
Dr. Chris Cherian. Hey, Doc, we appreciate the time this morning,
Thank
your
you.
expertise. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate your time. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Got it. Rothman Orthopaedics. To learn more about their New Jersey locations, hop online. Check them out. They're fantastic. RothmanNJ.com. And anytime we have an injury going on the New York landscape regarding an athlete, they're tremendous in providing a doctor their expertise. So we'll find out next 10 days.